April 22nd. Pretty big day when it comes to Husker football.
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Forewarning, thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch, first listen each and every single day. Greatly appreciated. This episode brought to you by the folks from FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. 1 and 3 zeros. How about that? That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Go big, Husker fans. Go big, and then see how it works, because you get it back if it doesn't win. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, super easy to use. Bet on everything from money line to point scores, threes made in the game, top rebound, all those things. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon for those earnings. To talk about April 22nd, that Matt Rule has a very interesting 5 weeks. This is, for Husker fans, you get an understanding of how vital this is, how important this is, what a big deal this is. That under the microscope that is Nebraska football fandom and Husker Nation and how deep the red runs, knowing that the next 5 weeks, every player, every comment, every drill, every video, every injury will be micro-analyzed, micro-managed, and micro-discussed. Like, the conversations over the next 5 weeks will be phenomenal and ridiculous all at the same time. But that's Husker football and Matt Rule's introduction to it. He will leap immediately from the honeymoon phase, because I have to tell you, the honeymoon phase ends next Monday. All the social media content gets everybody excited. All of the catchphrases, all of the, one of us, how we process, what our vision is, all of those things are an idea. They are this fantasy image in our heads as Nebraska loyalists of what he's saying in reality form. This is what we're going to look like. We're going to be a physical team. So every Husker fan goes, woo! They throw their hands in the air, confetti flies. Why? Because the image of a physical Nebraska football team goes to mind, because Nebraska fans know what that looks like in the past. They know what the pipeline, if you talked about physical line, offensive line play, Nebraska fans know what that means. They immediately go to a place that's just remarkable. If you talk about being a run-first football team, Nebraska fans will jump into the pool and everybody will splash water and they'll dive off the deep end, because the idea of Ramir Johnson acting as Mike Rozier, right? The idea that Gabe Urban could be Lawrence Phillips, those things happen. If you said that Jeff Sims and Casey Thompson could go full on Turner Gill, everybody here can wrap that into their heads that, oh my goodness, I can see it. So Matt Rule has been dicing up these wonderful images and letting Nebraska fans know that, one, we're going to be loyal to Nebraska high school talent. We're going to get out into the different corners and the dark spaces of Nebraska, and we'll get to meet high school coaches, and we'll talk to the families, and we will connect the state of Nebraska at the very fabric of its core, and we will connect them with football, because the images will carry you through until until you have to show your work. And everybody that had a teacher that said, show me your work, cringes a little bit because it's not what you know, it's what you show. And that's what spring football is all about. Your ability to show your work. Did you get in shape? Do you have a scheme that we can understand as fans? Can we wrap our hearts and minds around a 3-3-5 defense? Can we get behind the idea of 5 linemen who would be physically imposing and dominant? Can they understand the schemes that are going to be asked of them, right? The Satterfield's verbiage, land with Casey Thompson and Jeff Sims. Who's going to be wide receiver 1? Can Billy Kemp come in? And what does he look like? And we've seen him in the Cavalier blue and orange, but we haven't seen him in Husker scarlet and cream. We don't know what it looks like. Because when we see Billy Kemp IV in uniform, seeing him run the routes that he's going to have to run in September against Michigan, in October against Ohio State, in November against Iowa, we need to see it. We need to see Jeff Sims. What's his drop look like? What does his voice sound like? What is his command and control of this offense? What does it sound like and look like? Because after spring training starts, it's no longer an image, it's a reality. It's an actual thing that you can wrap your brain around and go, wait a minute, I understand. We need to see Gabe Urban put his foot in the ground again. We saw the freshman raw version of him. What's he look like? A year more mature, a year more formed, a year more developed, and 6 months recovered. What does it look like? What does it look like? When I say that the honeymoon ends, what I mean to tell you is now Matt Rhule gets to put on display. He gets to show his work. And it's going to be fun to watch. Not saying it's going to be a fun production, but it'll be fun to watch because we actually get to see it. We'll throw a break. We'll come back. When we come back, I want to talk about those things that we're looking for. What are the other challenges Matt Rhule is going to face walking into spring practice? Hey, gang, welcome back to Locked On Huskers. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch listen each and every single day. Let me ask you to subscribe, like, share. Get that out. Get that information out. Make sure you get the notifications that the next episode of Locked On Huskers is there for you. Please do. Your second watch, and listen, grab your bracket and go listen to the Locked On College Basketball Bracket Breakdown with national analysis, insights from local experts. The Locked On College Basketball Bracket Breakdown has everything you need to make the most informed decisions about your bracket. Trust us. Find your way to the episode on Locked On College Basketball, wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube. We're talking about Matt Rhule, and we're talking about spring practice. We're talking about a spring game, April 22nd. My big thing in talking about this is I get amped up and ramped up because this is the time where everybody's got the opportunity to get better. Now, I'll say that again, and I'll point something out as well. It's the opportunity for everybody to get better, to improve. Doesn't mean they will, and it also doesn't mean that everybody's starting from the same point. There are some people in this space walking into spring practice and up to spring game who are at advantage. They've put in the work, they've put in the recovery work, the physical work, the mental work, the film study. They've done all those things. They've taken advantage of their time and access of coaches to find out, okay, coach, what word do you use when you want me to do this thing? Case in point, receivers. If this system is route-based, which means that the route combinations are driven up and they're given a name. So let's call it Lucille. And that whenever Lucille is called, depending on the personnel on the field and the formation, that I'm going to line up as an X receiver and my route is this. No matter what defense is in play, this is my route in this play. And then if you call that in a huddle and then you audible out of it, are you audibling to another name? Is it Sally? Is it Steven? Is it whatever it is? Am I allowed to alter that route based on the coverage? So if I'm in man coverage and I want to run a post pattern, I have different accountabilities and timings to the quarterback, to the offensive line, to the coach, and then versus the defense. But what happens is that if that's a zone, if I'm running a post, I'm not running that post the same right. I may slim it. I may break it short. I may front through the safety. I may go beyond the safety because there's no cap and there's nobody behind him. So if I can get my foot in the ground and get even with the safety who has to back pedal, sink his hips, and turn, then I've changed all of that. But the verbiage behind that has to be learned. And that's just one situation and scenario. There's an entire playbook that's as thick as your head that goes into what do you do in this situation, this circumstance. There's some receivers, coaches, and coordinators that use the numerical system, the route tree. And to be able to tell you that I can audible based on a color or based on a keyword, and then I'll roll out 743, which tells me in order receivers will run 7 routes, 4 routes, 3 routes based on what they see in tendencies of defense, right? Another thing, okay, route running, if you're being chased, if you're running around and you're still being chased, keep running. Why? Because you're in man coverage. That's the rule. Okay, if it's zone, if you're not being chased, stop running, sit down, and find your space. Different in crossing routes versus vertical routes. The verbiage that you audible out of and try to get communications into with 90,000 people screaming and with a coach on headsets and players with helmets being with other voices, being able to hear and recognize your group's coach out of 90,000 voices echoed is important. And then whatever verbiage is being used to understand what words are being called, what action is being called when that's being done, all of those things are important. Offensive line, understanding who's going to be your offensive leader. Is it going to be young Mr. Scott from Arizona State who has new verbiage to learn, but he has some knowledge and experience in making those calls in the middle of the field, again, with 90,000 screaming and with a quarterback patting him on the behind, asking him, hey, are we on the same page? Do you see what I see? So much of April 22nd will be a walkthrough and a first time and an introduction to what it is in that building, in that space, how to get dressed, how to get out of the building, what do you do with fan engagement, how do you respond to that? But that's what spring practice is for, and that's what the spring game is for. First opportunities to see people in live situations, in game-like situations. It's not game situations, but game-like situations. To see what's in play and then adjust. The spring game will give you an opportunity, give Matt Rule an opportunity to see this year's roster for the first time in a real game situation. Now, they'll scrimmage between now and then. They'll scrimmage along the way, and you'll get to see those things. And we won't get to see we'll get to see what Matt Rule and the social media crew feels like we deserve to see or should see. And we'll only see the best. Like, these are highlight reels. These are not social media content. These are highlight reels. These aren't reality reels. These aren't, you're not showing the 99 times that it failed or that they were learning or they were doing an install. What you're going to see in those reels, in those 30-second blurbs, are when they got it right, when they got that one thing right. But that's the beauty of it. It's the pitch and tell. It's marketing, it's promotion, it's all those things. I get it, but we still need it. But we have to be realistic in what we're looking at. Right? You can fall for the okie doke, or as Nebraska fans say, you can drink the Kool-Aid. And I'm okay with you drinking the Kool-Aid because it's based on what you know rather than what you don't know. What you've seen. If you've seen Marcus Washington and he looks fit and he looks like he's moving with athletic arrogance, which means he knows what he's doing. There's not much question or hesitation. He looks like, okay, I knew the mission. I put my foot in the ground. I got the win because I knew what was going on. Quarterback and I were on the same page. The coach and I, the coordinator, we're on the same page. You show the wins. That's what spring practice and spring game is all about, showing wins. But what it will also show you is that beyond the makeup, what pimples exist, what acne is in play. You're going to find out those things if you're paying attention. But that's what April 22nd is all about. We'll close out with this. What does April 22nd look like? And can it be good? We'll talk about it. Hey, gang, thanks once again for hanging out for Locked On Huskers. I'm DP. Again, we're here. There we are. 937 ticket. Middle America, greatly appreciated. We're just getting amped up and fired up, ready for spring game, April 22nd. And there's lots to talk about, lots to consider. And it's wonderful that we actually get to talk about it in a football town, in a college football town. We get to talk about college football, talk about the Huskers and what's going on. April 22nd, you've got 5 weeks to build up to it. You'll get more insight. You'll get social media feeds. You'll get content. You'll get conversations about, on day 13 of practice, it looks like Jeff Sims is the second coming of Turner Gill. And then those days where he goes, nope, that's not what we saw today. But beware. Create your own clean thoughts, your own authentic thoughts. Use your eyes and then make a decision based on what you see. I'm not asking you to trust what I see. I'm asking you to spend time to look and see based on the content that will be shared with an understanding of that content and understanding that these are highlight reels. These are not the pimples. This is purely made up. These are the glam shots. These are the ones with the filter. That's what you're going to see on April 22nd. But this is what I ask. You as a fan, you can put it down, your comments down in the comment section. What would make you feel happy, thrilled, excited, April 23rd? Exactly what would have to happen on April 22nd that would make you feel thrilled, excited, happy, satisfied with the Huskers, what you see on April 22nd? Because I'm not sure there's an answer. In fairness, I'm not sure there's an answer. Because if the offense comes out and puts up 50 points, do you buy all in, or are you concerned that this defense, that Tony White has got his hands full, and this is no way, shape, or form looks the way you want a Husker defense to look heading into Minneapolis? If the defense shuts down the offense and you got excited about the black shirts and once again throw them bones and feel good about yourself, doesn't that mean that you have concerns about the offense and whether you're getting from it a Big Ten top-level, high-standard offense? If you see special teams and there are returns left and right in order to get excited in the big plays, right? If there's a punt block, as much as you throw confetti that there's a punt block, you have to be concerned that you had a punt block. If there's a kick return, yay, we will throw that kick returner on our shoulders and march. But we are also going to panic because quite frankly, it's been a while since DeMornay Pearson that you had a kick returner that should be returning kicks for scores in the Big Ten Conference against Big Ten talent. If a quarterback comes out and throws for 200 yards, you're excited, except it means they threw for 200 yards against what's supposed to be the best group on the roster in this Nebraska secondary. If the offensive line goes without holding in a course, or they don't give up a sack, we throw confetti and we march down O Street. But the same token, once again, we have the problem that we have not created a way for Nebraska to get a pass rush, which keeps you from being elite in the Big Ten Conference. So tell me in the comments, please let me know. What would it take for you to be happy, satisfied, content coming out of on April 22nd and on April 23rd? I don't profess to have the answer. I'm only answering the questions. Again, thank you for making Locked On Huskers first watch, first listen each and every single day. Greatly appreciate you hanging out with us. Again, put your comments down there. Subscribe, like, share the content, and answer the question, because sometimes it is about questions. This is your first watch. Your second watch should be Locked On College Basketball. Again, it's March Madness, so there's lots going on. Go on, track your brackets on FanDuel. Please do so. it'd be good for you, good for them. Again, great content. Lots of disclosure from around the country, different programs and otherwise. Locked On College Basketball. Go find it on YouTube or however you consume your podcast. We'll close with the words that we love so much. And shout out to Amy Williams and the Husker women's basketball team who made it to the women's NIT. Bravo to you hosting a home game Wednesday here in Lincoln, Nebraska. With the final three words that mean so much. Go Big Red.